In the last video, we read how Chandu, dressed up in a fanciful attire, came to the narrator's house to show him his new dress. And then he went to the landlord's house for his regular business of shaving and hair cutting. Ram, 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 said Vijay Chand, the burly landlord, touching the sacred thread which hung over his ear since he had just been to the lavatory. The son of a pig! He is bringing a leather bag of cowhide into our house and a coat of marrow of, I don't know, some other animals, and those evil black Angrezi shoes. Get out, you son of a devil! You will defile my religion. I suppose you have no fear of anyone now that your father is dead. Surprised and annoyed at the same time, Vijay Chand throws him out of the house because he believes Chandu has no right to dress as he is doing. But I am wearing the clothes of a Dr. Jagirdar Saab, said Chandu. Go away, you swine, go away and wear clothes befitting your low status as a barber, and don't let me see you practicing any of your newfangled notions, or else I will have you flogged. But try Vijay Chand Saab, Chandu repeated. Get away, you useless one, the landlord shouted. Don't come any nearer, or we will have to treat the whole house with the sacred cow dung to purify it. Chandu's new attire brings about great clamour and chaos in the village. When he approaches the landlord's house, the landlord, an ideologue of dogmatism and orthodoxy, having seen Chandu in the new robe, mortifies Chandu in the foulest terms. The landlord reprimands, calling Chandu the son of a pig. Get out, you will defy my religion. It is a fact that innocent, low-caste people like Chandu are always treated with humiliation for no fault of theirs. Did Chandu commit any blemish or blunder by wearing a dress like Dr. Kala Khan? Chandu returned. His face was flushed. He was completely taken aback. He did not look at me because of the shame he felt at being insulted before Thanuram, the sahukar of the village, who kept a grocer's store at the corner of the lane. The conservative society always prefers injustice and oppression. Chandu is impelled to realize that due to his being a low-caste boy, he is not entitled to such felicity and that he is perpetually harassed to serve the upper caste society. This is his ineradicable destiny that he is bound to be in it. Devi, the landlord's son, had begun to cry at his father's words, and I stopped to question him. When I got to the end of the lane, I saw the sahukar with one end of the scale, which he had been weighing grains, lifted in one hand, abusing Chandu in the foulest way. You little swine! You go disguising yourself like a clown when you ought to be bearing responsibilities and looking after your old mother. You go wearing the defiled clothes of the hospital folk. Go and come back in your own clothes. Then I shall let you cut my hair. And as he said, so he felt for the ritual tuft knot on the top of his head. The village sahukar too goes one step ahead and deals with Chandu in harshest possible terms. Chandu looked crestfallen and ran in a wild rage past me as if I had been responsible for these mishaps, and I nearly cried to think that he hated me now just because I belonged to a superior caste. Go to Pandit Padmanand, I shouted after him, and tell him that these garments you were wearing were not unclean. The narrator feels miserable when Chandu goes past him in wild rage. Oh, so you are in league with him, said Pandit Parmanand, emerging from the landlord's home, where he had been apparently summoned to discuss this unholy emergency. You boys have been spoiled by the school education which you have got. It may be all right for you to wear those things because you are going to be a learned man, but what right has that low-caste boy to such apparel? He has got to touch our beards, our head and our hands. He is defiled enough by God. Why does he want to become more defiled? You are a high caste boy, and he is a low caste boy. He is a rogue. Pandit Parmanand, the keeper of the village shrine, also bullies, saying, "He's a low caste devil. He is a rogue." Chandu is thoroughly humiliated and exasperated at this treatment. Chandu had heard this. He did not look back and ran in a flurry as if he were set on some purpose which occupied him more than the abuse which had been the cause of his flight. My mother called to me and said it was time for me to eat and go to school, or I should be late. And she could not resist the temptation to lecture me again about my associating with the barber boy. But I was very disturbed about Chandu's fate all day, and on my way back from school, I called in at the hovel where he lived with his mother. There is a distinct discrepancy between Chandu and Mulk Raj Anand's other protagonists like Bakha and Munnu. They would have wilted, submitted, and succumbed to the circumstance as normal creatures of circumstance would have, but Chandu is entirely unlike them. He is one in hundreds and hundreds in one. He is intent on topsy-turving everything orthodox. He is representative of the modern man in the modern world. Chandu, insulted and affronted though, instead of giving in to the village superiors, adopts a course of action with a view to teaching the idiots a lesson. His mother was well known for a cantankerous old woman, because she, a low caste woman, dared to see the upper caste people as they never dared to see themselves. She was always very kind to me, though she spoke to me too in a bantering manner, which she had acquired through the suffering and humiliations of 60 odd years. Turning to me, she said, "Well, you have come, have you, to look for your friend? If your mother knew you were here, she would scratch my eyes out for casting an evil eye on your sweet face. And you, are you as innocent as you look, or are you a sneaking little hypocrite like the rest of your lot?" The humiliation experienced by the downtrodden and low caste each and every single minute of their lives is evident, and the bitterness justified in the speech of Chandu's mother. "Where is Chandu then, mother?" I said. "I don't know, son," she said, now in a sincere, simple manner. "He went up town way and says he earned some money shaving people on the roadside. I don't know what he's up to. I don't think he ought to annoy the clients his father served. He's a child and gets funny notions into his head, and they ought not to be angry with him. He's only a boy. You want to see him and go out playing, I suppose. Very well. Tell him when he comes. He has just gone up the road, I think." Her anger subsides, and she talks normally to the narrator. "All right, mother," I said, and went home. Chandu whistled for me that afternoon in the usual code whistle, which we had arranged to evade the reproaches of interfering elders that our association often provoked. Later in the day, Chandu called the narrator in their code language, which they had developed to avoid the reproaches of the elders who did not like the mingling of people of the different castes. "Come for a walk to the bazaar," I said. "I want to talk to you." And hardly had I joined him when he began, "Do you know, I earned ₹1 shaving and hair cutting near the court this morning. If I hadn't had to come back on the back bar of Hukam Chand's carriage early in the afternoon, I should have earned more. But I am going to teach these orthodox idiots a lesson. I am going on strike. I shall not go to their houses to attend to them. I am going to buy a Japanese bicycle from the gambling son of Lala Hukam Chand for ₹5, and I shall learn to ride it, and I will go to town on it every day. Won't I look grand? Ride on a bicycle with my overcoat, my black leather shoes, and a white turban on my head, especially as there's a peg in front of the two-wheeled carriage for hanging my tool bag." Those who alienate Chandu are arrogant and appear to be rooted to a value system that Chandu himself does not believe in adhering to. Chandu sees nothing wrong with trying to better himself. His course of action is a course of revolt. He desires to change his fate and fate of his fellow brothers by way of overcoming his predicament. Despite his being a mere barber boy, he has prowess to outwit and outsmart others. With a view to teaching the orthodox idiots a lesson, he ceases to dance attendance to the village notables and others for shaving and hair cutting. Instead, he frequents the town for earning. Yes, I agreed, greatly thrilled not because I imagined the glory of Chandu seated on a bicycle, but because I felt myself nearer the goal of my own ambition, since I felt that if Chandu acquired a bicycle, he would at least let me ride down on the elongated bolt of the back wheel or on the front bar if he didn't let me learn to ride myself and lend me the machine every now and then. The fact that Chandu can earn a rupee for a haircut, yet only 2 pice in the village, suggests that not only is Chandu not being judged by his caste, but his efforts are also respected by those in the town. It may also be important that Chandu buys the bicycle, as symbolically this may suggest he is independent of those in the village. He has his own means to get into town and earn money. He is not reliant on the business of the men who alienated him because of his choice of clothing. Chandu negotiated the deal about the bicycle with an assurance that seemed to me a revelation of his capacity for business, such as I had never suspected in him, from the reckless way he spent his money. And then he said to me in a confidential voice, "You wait for another day or two. I shall show you something which will make you laugh as you have never laughed before." Within a few days, the outcome is easily visible, causing a great problem and inconvenience. Chandu is so shrewd and cunning that he has already had his Varka counterpart in his league. "Tell me now," I insisted with an impatience sharpened by the rhythm of the excitement with which the spirit of his adventure filled my being. "No, you wait," he said. "I can only give you a hint at the moment. It is a secret that only a barber can know. Now let me get on with the job of learning to handle this machine. You hold it while I get on it, and I think it will be all right." Due to the rigid values of those in the town, Chandu ends up losing business, though it is interesting that Chandu knows that he can outwit those who have alienated him. All he has to do is to be patient and wait for each individual's hair to grow. This too may be important as it suggests that Chandu is using his ingenuity. He will not be beaten by a system that will not include him purely because he is of a lower caste. If anything, Chandu knows that those in the village who are alienating him are reliant on him and his services. The narrator's relationship with Chandu is also interesting as he not only respects Chandu but is full of admiration for him. In many ways, the narrator envies the freedom that Chandu has when it comes to his being able to go to town on his own.